The Milwaukee Bucks have started the season with some promising games, but also with some worrying tendencies. With a record of 5 wins and 3 losses, there are signs that can make us believe this team is better than most expected, but also some others that let us see why people were skeptic about them. So now that we already have seen a few games, let's discuss the best and the worst from this early Bucks season, starting with the positive notes. Let's go with it. Okay, this feels like the most obvious stuff, but at this point I cannot start this video not talking about Giannis. He's averaging a career high both in points and assists, he's being more efficient than ever, he's suddenly even hitting most of the threes he tries, and he's overall carrying the team as much as we all could expect he would. But that's not even the biggest thing for me. What really has shocked me is how he's doing it while clearly managing his body and thinking on the long term. I was worried about Doc pushing him to his limit every given night, but it's almost been the opposite. He's kind of back to the Budenholzer era, where he played somewhat between 30 and 33 minutes a game, which I think it's something they need to do when your roster relies that much on one single player. To go further, you can really tell Giannis is coasting it a little bit sometimes, and I don't mean that as a bad thing. There's been some stretches of games where he settles for a jumper a bit too much instead of forcing himself to the rim, he's not always all that ready for some defensive helps, and he isn't chasing rebounds all that hard, which I know sounds weird to say for a player who's grabbing more than 12 a game, but if you're watching the games, you know what I mean. And I know that's frustrating at times, but I think we need to see the bigger picture here, and understand that he really needs to manage his body, and he's doing great so far. As a whole, however, I could say that the best thing for me is that the Bucks are finally looking like a modern NBA team. Last season they struggled big time against every team that was playing fast, playing physical, putting pressure on the ball, chasing mismatches. Basically everything the Thunder and the Pacers did to get to the NBA Finals. However, almost every trade and move they've made this year was targeted to make them better fit that style, and it's worked so far. They have a much switchable defense, they can play more aggressive at the point of attack, they can play faster and run in transition, they have more athletic players. They're still one of the oldest teams in the NBA, but now it doesn't feel like that, and it doesn't seem they're going to lose as many games against opponents that are worse than them but just outclass them on a physical level. And that I think can really make the difference between a middle of the pack team or a top team in the East. And third, one of the biggest surprises of the season is that the Bucks roster is actually deeper than we expected. This is one of the reasons why the non-Giannis minutes haven't been that terrible, and why they can play in a more modern style, because they do have a lot of guys that they can trust now. Of course, Ryan Rollins has taken the spot with his great performances against New York and Golden State, but there's a lot more. Cole Anthony is proving to be not only the good scorer we knew he was, but also a solid playmaker for the bench unit. Kyle Kuzma is actually playing great in his new role with some great defense and even some good scoring nights. Prince and Coffee also feel comfortable in the lesser role. This feels more like a team now. Last season the Bucks ended the playoff with basically 5 playable guys, but it doesn't seem like it this year. Every new player has something to bring, and the ones who were on a weird spot last season have found a role that better suits them. Well, almost all of them, because now we have to talk about the negatives. I've said it a few times, but I have a weird relationship with Bobby Portis. I don't dislike him as much as some fans because I think he brings some valuable scoring, shooting and rebounding, but it's hard for me to get over how much he affects the way the Bucks play. He needs a lot of touches in the paint, so the offense gets way slower with him. He brings zero rim protection, so you always need some other big next to him, or you have to play zone defense if he's on the court. It's weird. And this season is getting worse, because with the Bucks willing to play faster and be more versatile on defense so they can start picking up players all over the court, his fitting feels more awkward than it's ever been, and you can see how he changes the flow of the game every time he steps in, and not in a good way. I kind of expect this to be a problem before the season started, but it's been even uglier than I thought it would be. And again, he's not useless, and there's been some games where his shooting has really lifted the team, but at this point I struggle to see how they could make him fit. The thing is there a trade out there where they can send him elsewhere to upgrade the team? It certainly feels they should be looking for it, but at this point I just don't know. Now let's talk about the Bucks' half-court offense, which I honestly didn't expect to be good, so I'm not even that disappointed with, but I still am to a certain extent. We knew coming into the season that there weren't a lot of creators on the roster and they were going to rely a little too much on the 3-point shooting, but it has still felt underwhelming at times. The Bucks aren't actually shooting all that many threes, which are the shots the defense are trying to prevent against them, and they aren't finding a lot of ways to counter the approach. Despite the gravity of some of the shooters, there's not a lot of off-ball action to try to use that. Miles Turner hasn't really found a role other than waiting in the corner for the ball to get to him, which allows some teams to just hide their worst defender on him because he barely tries to take the position in the paint. There's not a lot of ways to punish the defense when they double Giannis neither in the post or in the perimeter. I don't know, the room for improvement is there and the numbers actually say the Bucks aren't that bad of an offensive team, but it sure hasn't felt that consistent in some games. I hope this is something they can improve through the season, although Doc Rivers has never made the offense shine since he got to the team, so this has me a little worried. Okay, and last thing I want to talk about are Doc Rivers rotations, which, allow me to say, I don't actually hate as much as I've seen some Bucks fans do. As I said when talking about Giannis, you don't want to run your starters to the ground this early in the season, so you are going to play some bench lineups from time to time and just hope they can survive out there, especially now that the Bucks don't have KPJ and are lacking ball handlers even more. However, I agree this could be handled way better. These lineups sometimes run insanely long, and even if they do survive for 5 minutes or so, Doc just keeps them on the court until the other team makes a run. It feels like it's happened every game at this point, and it's getting a bit exhausting to be honest, because even if the Bucks have a great start, it feels that it is just going down the drain in the second quarter. So Doc needs to find a more balanced rotations in my opinion, at least until Porter comes back and we can see how it was all meant to be from the beginning. Because even if you have some bench players who can be pretty useful, most of them can't if they're just part of a terrible lineup that has almost nothing going for it. So those are the main things for me, but now let me know about you. What do you think are the best and worst things for the Milwaukee Bucks this early on the season? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more Bucks related content. Thanks for watching.